Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with the Journalist. Oh my gosh, I actually have coffee. I have the coffee this time around. I'm Beck Bamberger, and we've been doing this show for a while now. I think we're on like 3, 4, I don't know how many years, 200 plus episodes in, and we are still learning, still about what journalists need, what they need, editors as well, freelancers and so forth. And this is the show for you if you want to understand how to better work with journalists and reporters and editors, all the people in media that make our world go round as publicists, because we need each other. And that is what we're here to accomplish today. And with us today, coming also from San Francisco, because I'm in San Francisco right now, former business journalist, but now she's the assistant arts and entertainment editor, Shwanika. I just messed that up. Oh, darn. Oh, darn.
Okay.
Oh,
it happens.
Shwanika.
Shwanika.
Why am I saying?
Yeah. Just replace the I throws people off, but like how you pronounce this is like pretend there's an A there instead of an I. So then it's just Shwanika.
Yes, Shwanika.
Yeah.
Okay. Shwanika. Oh, I was on such a roll. Okay, we're gonna do that again.
Yeah, you were.
Or actually, we'll clip it in just to do this part. Okay. And with us today is the former business journalist and now the assistant arts and entertainment editor, who is over at San Francisco Chronicle, a great local publication that everyone in San Francisco, frankly, reads, including myself, and I'm not even here full time. Shwanika Narayan, and she is here to tell us basically everything about what's going on in her world now, especially because you've got a new beat. So welcome.
Thank you, Beck. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. How has it been shifting to the arts and entertainment, which is drastically different than the tech and business?
Very different.
How'd you even get?
Change.
Okay, I'm sure you're like, great. Let me talk about performances.
Yeah. No. It's been a welcome switch that I made about a little over a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of speaks to the flexibility we have here at the Chronicle. They're very open about, people wanting to sort of grow and try out new things and making it happen. So that's how it kind of happened for me. But yeah, my journalism experience, my background.
But
sure.
Wait. Did you bring it up and say, hey, everybody, this is like, how did that get prompted? You know what I mean?
Well, I noticed that they had an opening and it piqued my interest and I wanted to try it out and they were like, sure. I had a short stint on the copy desk because that's how a lot of legacy newspapers happen. If you have no editing experience and you've just been a reporter or a writer, they want you to sort of like really refine those copy editing skills for a month or two and then switch over. And it just kind of lined up for me. But yeah, I brought it up to them and it happened.
Oh, I like that. Way to shift over. Now, one thing we cover on here is that, editors are different than reporters, not in the function of they don't all write stories, typically most do, but how would you distinguish your role more as an editor versus a reporter now, especially since you've been on both sides?
Right. Now, as an editor, I am assigning coverage, right?
Yeah.
I'm planning out our editorial calendar way in advance. So we're just not looking at week by week. We're looking month out. We're looking at big projects, ambitious things we want to tackle this year. So that's really a lot of sort of the strategy, the planning, that all goes into being part of like an editor and running a team. As a reporter, it was more of like, okay, like, this is my beat. This is what I'm writing about. What's happening? What can I break? Am I noticing trends? It's more really, it's a little bit more solitary in that you are mostly just reporting and writing, whereas editing is a little bit more collaborative and you're managing.
So let's now take it to your inbox. How is it and how do you manage it? Everyone has a managing way, or some don't and just let it ride forever. So you tell us.
It's the first thing I do every morning when I sign on. I go through my emails. There's hundreds of emails. Like as an editor, I average about 200 to 250 a day. And not all of them
are just
pitches.
I'm also, I was going to say, what's the quick?
Yeah. I would say at least 75 of those. So what is that? I don't even know the percentage, but
a fourth.
Yeah. A quarter.
Ish,
a quarter of those. Yeah. A quarter of those are pitches, right? And so I'm also subscribed to a lot of the arts newsletters to sort of make sure that I'm plugged into what's happening, what other publications are writing about, what we may have missed, and what we have going on. I do find myself finding a little bit more time responding to emails as an editor compared to when I was a reporter. So
Mm,
that has been interesting. I feel like it's not necessarily because I have more time. I just think I'm beholden a little bit more to reply to people, right? So that's the switch.
okay, good distinction with that. Have you noticed, by the way, that people are still unfortunately sending you business pitches?
All the time, which
Mm.
is fine. I will just go ahead and forward it to the person who
Oh,
would
that's
be
gracious.
interested in it.
Oh, that's
But,
gracious.
but yeah,
That's
I really
gracious.
don't. If you do it more than once, then yeah, I will just not respond or even forward it to you. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
will, the first time it comes to me, I'll say, hey, I've made the switch. This is what I do now. It's not my coverage area anymore. But I will forward this. And most of the times I do CC the reporter or the editor as well. And then they can take it from there.
Oh, that's so generous. That's so generous. Okay, if we can go back to though your inbox and just how you were curating it and how you were surviving it. Some people we've had on here, they have they flag, they folder, they mass delete every 90 days because they can't handle. What are you doing? And what also, second part of that question, what gets to the open of the email, if at all?
Right. So I do all of that. I do my
Okay.
folders.
Oh,
I do the mass emails deletion every 90 days because it does get hectic.
mhm.
Um, I forward it to the appropriate people who can sort of take it on. And yeah, so I do all of that. And what gets my attention, so at the news organization I work at, the Chronicle, it's a local regional outlet, right? So the attention needs to be very, very relevant to the Chronicle and also to our readers.
Mhm.
And so it needs to be just a little bit more pointed to something that I here at the Chronicle would be interested in, whether it's a new exhibition that opens here or
Mhm.
just some kind of trend that's more local in scope versus national.
Mhm. And so, I mean, this kind of sounds obvious, and for a lot of other reporters or editors, it is not. But I would imagine it's like, is it happening in San Francisco? Is it in the metro?
Right.
Like, it has to be.
Exactly.
Is that not a mandatory component of it?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So I'll give you an example. Back when
yeah.
I
That's
started
yeah.
here, um, in 2019, when I started here, Yelp, for example, they came up
Yeah.
with a new economic measurement called the Yelp Economic Average, and it was just basically the state of small businesses
Oh,
in America,
that's very
and that's
creative.
great. That's,
Very
well,
creative.
they have really great data on small businesses, right? So like they did this thing for the media that piqued my interest. The subject line did not work for me, but it still piqued my interest. And I asked them if they could cut data for the 9 county Bay Area and if we could glean trends from that. And in
Hmm.
2019, years before that, I retail was one of my beats, and all I wrote about were bankruptcies and sky high rents and just how retail as an industry was struggling. But with this data, we found out that furniture stores, for some strange reason, were really thriving in San Francisco, and so that became a story, right? This I'm not going to write about Yelp's economic average. I will
Yeah.
use that data set in the story, but my story is about why are furniture stores thriving in San Francisco.
Yeah. So that's a great. I'm so glad you referenced that because so often, and this is at least for folks we've worked with in the tech world, you've got some interesting data. Now it's not about this is our data and write about our data. That's not it. It's more so what is the use case of it and where's the application, so that someone like
Absolutely.
you is like, of course you can reference back and say this is provided by, but that's hardly the story. It's really in the data and what it's showing you. That's interesting too. Why were furniture stores thriving?
Yeah, so I had a couple of
Huh?
retail analysts weigh in on this as well, so they
Yeah,
could provide me with the answers. And they said, well, furniture stores are really big purchases for people,
they
right? So they
are.
want to try out the couches, they want to try out the
Yes, you
the
wanna
dining
sit
room
on it,
set.
you wanna sit yep, yep.
So so they just kind of naturally lend themselves more to storefronts
Hmm,
that last longer. So I
hmm.
mean, and again, this was all pre-pandemic. Things have
Yes,
changed,
yes,
and I
yes.
haven't covered that beat for a while. But yeah,
Mhm.
this was sort of like the one thing that stood
Fascinating.
out.
Ah,
Mhm.
okay, okay. So, you're saying you flag, you folder, you do these things. How about subject lines? How important are those to you?
It's the most important thing. It needs to
Okay,
stand out. It
okay.
cannot be it just think about how we write headlines. That's kind of
Yes.
like how you need to address and go around when it comes to subject lines to get my interest because again, I'm
Uh-huh.
going through my emails really quickly.
Yep.
My goal is
Flying.
inbox zero every day, and I want to
Hmm.
make sure I'm doing due diligence, and I can only do that if the subject line stands out. I will
That's
read
right.
your email then. Yeah,
Uh-huh. Yep. Okay. So subject line it is. Now, speaking of subject lines, you want it like a headline, you want it direct, you want it like how else does it stick out to you? Subject lines is a very big topic on this show.
absolutely. Yeah, so I want it very direct. It can be creative. It can be, in terms of the body of the email, I prefer bullet points. I prefer all the pertinent information there in that one email. So when I was a business reporter, you know, okay, you're gonna randomly mention a company. Do I know where this company is located? How big is it? Who's the founder? Who are the backers? Um, what, and also what's the news? So a lot of
Yeah,
times we get pictures of like, this is a great company, and maybe you should write a profile about it. And it's like, well, there are literally thousands of startups in the Bay Area. Why am I writing about this one company and
that's
not
right.
the others?
That's right. Yeah,
Right. So what's the
exactly.
news here? Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, that was a great glimpse into the subject lines. Is there anything that you absolutely would love publicists to do more? Please,
Yeah,
please. If this is my list, here we go. Yeah, tell me.
absolutely. So with the local publicists, I love meeting up with them,
Oh, you do?
because
Okay.
when I actually do, I
Okay.
think it's very helpful. It was very
I
helpful
think
for
so
me
too.
as a business
Yeah.
reporter, and
Yeah.
even as an arts editor now. I am meeting with the book publicist. I am meeting with theater folks. I'm meeting with the classical music leadership folks, right? Um, and part of that is to sort of establish a professional relationship, and also have people understand the kinds of stories that we are looking for, but also understand what they have coming up, so we can be a little bit more better prepared, if news breaks. Um, what else? Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Anything? Yeah.
I
Anything
like
else?
hopping on the phone. Like sometimes I'll
Okay.
like news will break, or I will have a story go out, and literally I'll get a pitch from a publicist saying, "Oh, you just wrote about this. Here's a person who can comment." And it's like, I'm not going to update my story and include your person in this story that I spent weeks reporting and is already published, but I can keep this person in mind for the next thing, that might be relevant for this particular topic, right?
Can we pause on that for a second? This happens so often on here. And
Yeah,
publicists, I just want to convey when the story is out, you cannot be asking, oh, would you change that story and just insert my client into the piece? There's nothing new, just but I bet what happens is the client saw it. They're like, why the hell was I not in that piece? Go
right,
email them, go do. And it's in it, and I'm thinking it's like predatory client relations, where that the client is dictating and saying that you have to do that, but then that to
right.
me is a bad client. Man, I that's my only guess. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
not good.
And going on that, even if it's a story, if you're the publicist that I've worked with on this specific
Yeah.
story, also understand that your pitch is really it. How I take it from there is, the story is going to be, and this is the thing, right? The story will become where the reporting takes it. So what you pitch can lead to a very different outcome. So
Mhm.
when Yelp pitched to me, they wanted a story about the Yelp economic average, whatever index that they had. And
Mhm.
sure, they might have gotten that at maybe some more business focused publications, some trade mags, but that's not what I got, right? Like I sort of like wanted more of the human interest, more of the localized take that would be relevant to our readers. So just understand that whatever you pitch, is that it? That's the only control you have, is your email, your intro email to to the reporter or the editor, and then it's really up to the press as to how they take it from there.
Wow. Okay. Sources. Now you said you like to meet with publicists. You like local publicists, but are there any like sources that you particularly like? And I'm like, I'm kind of struggling to think of what would necessarily be a source for you with arts and entertainment. But you tell us.
Sure. I mean, we have artists reaching out to us all the
Yeah.
time. We have theater folks who want to chat. And these are,
Okay. That
not
must
the
be fun.
leadership, but like the actual artists
Yeah.
who want to talk about just sort of the state of the industry in San Francisco, where there's such a high cost of living. So there's all these other issues that are
Hmm.
going on. Yeah, so it's primary sources, right? Like, yes, we're dealing with the institutions, we're talking to the heads of departments, we're getting those voices, but we also want to talk to the people that is their livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
So getting everyone involved is like the best case scenario.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So artists welcome directly. Great. Is there a process that you are either religiously going after or you consistently use as editor in terms of the story approval? Because people want to know a little bit on like story approval process. It's not necessarily, hey, I sent a pitch to the reporter and they're like, cool, let me write about it tomorrow. And it just is suddenly up. Sometimes that happens, but usually there's of course a process. Did I tell the boss? Did I talk to the editor? Did we meet at the morning meeting? And da 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 da. So how does it work over there for you all?
Absolutely. It needs to be timely. It needs to have like that newsworthy element.
Mm-hmm.
And it also needs to be relevant to our readers. And by that, I mean, it needs to be, include San Francisco or the Bay Area in some way. So, for example, there's tons and tons of books that get released every week. Which ones am I covering? Which ones am I
Yeah.
freelancing out to our book critics or our book
Wait,
reviewers?
but every week there's tons.
Oh,
What?
yes. There's
What?
hundreds of book releases every week across the country. And it's,
I mean, I knew across the
it's
country,
great.
but I'm like in San Francisco. Okay, like
Oh, no,
what would
not
you say? Well, yeah, what's the sector for San Francisco? Would you say?
right.
I'm
So
just
for
curious.
our books coverage, for
Yeah,
example, for our books coverage, we would like the author ideally to be based in San
yeah,
Francisco because we
yeah,
do like to have staff shot photos. We'd like
yeah.
our whoever is interviewing them to sort of meet up in person. So it's relevant because it's a Bay Area author,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe the story is set in San Francisco. So that's another way to get into the book part if they're not based here locally,
Mm-hmm.
or if they have an author event coming up that's local. Though that isn't like the most ideal criteria. The first two is what I would prefer more. Is the
Gotcha.
author local?
Yeah,
And yeah.
yeah, got it. Okay, wanted to clarify that. Okay, that's very helpful. Is there anything you feel maybe folks don't know as much in just the process? I'm talking folks as in publicists, like that you wish more publicists would know in terms of how you run your process.
Sure. We mentioned this earlier.
Yes.
I'm constantly amazed over the years that I've been working as a journalist.
Uh-oh.
The number of times I get an email saying, "Can you switch out this word and replace it with this?" For example, it's like, no. If there
A
isn't an
word, by the way,
inaccuracy,
it's like a specific, it'll be a word request.
a word request, and sometimes
God.
you get even more like audacious emails, like, "Can you switch the style or the tone of this
Oh God,
graph?"
no,
And it's like,
no,
no, no.
no, no, we're not doing that.
If it's not an inaccuracy, if there's nothing factually incorrect in the story, you cannot tell a journalist to like
No,
change stuff, right?
no.
You don't have control over voice, over style, over context. Yeah, but I still get emails all the time, and sometimes it's just amazing. Like, we need to stop doing that.
Yeah, we do need to stop doing that. Okay. I do have a short list of prep questions to go through. They're like super
Yes.
fire questions. Are you
Okay.
ready? Rapid fire
Yes.
questions. Okay.
Okay.
Let's hit it. Let's hit it. Video or phone interview?
Phone if it's breaking news. If it's more sort of like in-depth analysis pieces, we like video, especially if we can't meet up. So that way we get some color as well.
Okay. Bullet points or paragraphs in pitches? Now you said bullets earlier.
Yes, bullet points all
Bullets.
the way.
Short or long pitches?
Short, succinct pitches that have all the pertinent information. 2 or 3 paragraphs. Think about it that way.
Images attached or Dropbox zip file?
Dropbox file that also has a document for captions and credits.
Oh, I haven't heard that before. Okay. Document.
We get photos all the time, and I'm like,
And then
who
you're like,
are these
who do I
people?
credit to? Yeah, 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 yeah,
Who
yeah,
do I,
yeah,
and
yeah.
also who's the photographer? We need that
Yes,
information. Yes.
yes. Okay, that's a good little tip. Okay. Email or a DM somewhere like on X or wherever we're
Um,
getting things now.
Email. I personally don't like pictures on social media, especially on LinkedIn. Try an email. Our emails are actually pretty easy to find.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, have you been seeing more on LinkedIn? Because that seems to be the hot place now for
Yes.
everybody.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Yep.
I don't know
Yep.
why. I don't know why. It's just, well, I do know why. We just talked to someone
I
from LinkedIn today. They just have resources galore and they're pumping in lots of
mm,
money into LinkedIn. So everyone's at LinkedIn. Anyway, we already covered director creative subject lines ish, but You had mentioned a little bit like as the headline. You want to read it as the headline. Do you want to clarify that?
Yes. I think direct subject lines are always great. It gives me an insight as to what your email is probably going to be about. But if there's
Mhm.
some kind of distinction that you can be creative with and tell me why it's important to me specifically, and to our readers, that is what would sort of do it.
Okay, good. Time that you usually read pitches, you said at the beginning of the day, in the morning, but
Yes.
all the
Yep.
time?
All the time. Yeah. I
All the
start
time.
off my day reading emails, but it's an all day long kind of thing.
That's an all day long thing, yes. And we also covered sources. Okay, okay. Then to wrap us up here for today, is there anything that we could do to promote, highlight, celebrate, tout you in the SF Chronicle, which is so dang good? People need to read it.
The Chronicle as a newsroom has been doing really interesting work around how we're using AI as a tool to
Mhm,
get some of our stories out
mhm,
there.
mhm.
So we have like a news assistant, for example, on Kamala Harris, who we've been covering since '95, right? We
Yeah, she's a
have
local,
covered her. She's a
local
local.
girl.
We have
Yeah.
20 years worth of stories on her, and anything around
God.
her, any questions, you go to this news assistant tool and you can get your answers. We also launched something called Chowbot, which is another AI tool, and it's based on the food team's recommendations over the years about restaurants, about cuisine. So just go to our website and check out all these really cool things we're doing.
Oh, ooh. If there's ever a paper that would be about what is AI and all the applications, it would be in the mothership of San Francisco, of course. Ah, I love it so much. Thank you for being on today. This was so lovely. Publicist, she likes to meet locally if you are local and there's an art connection, if your author is located in San Francisco, but that's about it.
Yes. And again, as arts, I cover classical music, theater, movies, like all of it. It's all
Yes,
these sections under arts.
yes. It's a wide array,
Thank you so
everybody.
much, back. This
Thank
was so
you
much
so much
fun.
for being on today. This is the Assistant Arts and Entertainment Editor, everybody, from SF Chronicle. Let me make sure I get it right this time. Shwanika.
Shwanika.
Shwanika. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back. Everybody, this is the Assistant Arts and Entertainment Editor at SF Chronicle. What? God, this is
Okay,
horrible.
say it
Let's do it.
slowly.
Let,
Shwanika
Shwanika.
Narayan.
Shwanika Narayan. Great. Shwanika Narayan, thank you so much for being on with us today. Everybody, she is the Assistant Arts and Entertainment Editor, former business journalist at SF Chronicle. Check out the arts section. I can't wait. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.